You're listening to Talkline with Zev Brenner, America's premier Jewish broadcast on the air since 1981.
And now, here's your host.
And we're back. Our guest is Jim Walden. He's an attorney. He is former assistant U.S. attorney for the Eastern District of New York. He is involved in a lot of litigation, in fact, affecting and helping the Jewish community. And he's also running for mayor of New York City. I think we have more than 1 million of people running, but he certainly was running as independent, not running in the Democratic primary, but in the general election in November as an independent. Jim, welcome to the program. Thank you for joining us.
Zeb, thanks so much for having me on. I'm really happy to be here.
Well, thank you. I'm glad you're joining us. So what made you decide that you want to toss your hat into the crowded field of those that want to be mayor?
So I love New York. I chose New York. I came here many years ago, and in one way or another, I've been serving New York for 30 years. I'm disgusted with how bad our political leadership has been. I'm disgusted with the way that my old party, the Democratic Party, has chosen terrible candidates. We haven't had a mayor that we can be proud of for a long time, and both the de Blasio administration and the Adams administration dragged us into shame, generated federal investigations, cost us millions of dollars. And when Adams was indicted, I just had enough. I've been in and out of city policy issues through many litigations, some for the Jewish community, some for other communities as well. I understand what needs to be done and how to do it. I knew that I could do it better, and I would do it for the right reasons. I'm not a big man of words, but I'm a man of action, and I believe that the city deserves New Yorkers a plan and a real execution strategy to deliver the services that New Yorkers need.
So tell me the strategy, because in all likelihood, the scenario that people are saying is going to happen is that probably Andy Cuomo will win the Democratic primary, even though it's not for sure. But should he, and he also has an independent line, I believe, so he'll probably be the Democratic nominee. You have also Curtis Lee running as a Republican. You have Eric Adams running as an independent. You have Madamo, who's probably been running on the Working People's Party, who is anti-Semitic, anti-Israel for sure. And yourself. So what will be your strategy to win? Because usually a Democrat or Republican have an edge. Independents make it more difficult, even though John Lindsay did win once as independent in New York City for mayor. But how would you break out of this field? And also, it's a money issue. You got to have a lot of money to run in a place like New York.
So I broke through early, Zeb. I've already raised $3 million. I qualified for matching funds. Your listeners may not be familiar with me, but many New Yorkers are, through the very large cases that I brought over the course of the years. I mean, people have called me one of New York City's most prominent attorneys, and I wear that label well, or I wear it proudly, rather. And the strategy is simple. If New Yorkers have to choose between a disgraced mayor, a disgraced governor, and a 33-year-old champagne socialist, and a radio personality who has never served city government in any form or capacity, I think the choice for me is clear. I've got credentials that one could consider conservative. I've got credentials that one could consider liberal. I intend to govern the city as a centrist. And as a centrist, I'm going to avoid all of the hot button issues that are driving us apart and focus on the centrist issues that bring us together. Things like actually fixing public schools, delivering special education, including to private school students, the way that we should be doing, keeping our streets and subways safe, getting corruption out of City Hall. These are the issues that everyone should be focused on. And this is where I'm going to be laser focused, because I'm the person that can deliver it. I can deliver affordability. I've got the most extensive housing plan of any candidate. It's 100 pages long, and it shows beyond any doubt that we can do big things if we take bold actions and put people over politics.
No, it's important. It certainly is a challenge, because money plays a role, and also name recognition plays a role. I know you have some time between now and November, because you're not running in the Democratic primary.
Right.
Now, what independent party are you running on, by the way?
So we called our party the Integrity Party. As a former federal prosecutor, as a lawyer with a sterling reputation, who has done so much in terms of community service, we believed that it was the distinguishing feature between me and every single one of the candidates. So people should be looking for the ballot line that says Jim Walden, candidate for the Integrity Party.
Now, you worked on some very high-profile cases that have impacted the Jewish community. Tell us about some of them.
Oh, sure. I mean, the one that was the nearest and dearest to my heart was the case that we filed against the Department of Education and the Chancellor, David Banks, and a number of administrators for essentially promoting anti-Semitism after October 7th. We got a complaint from a public school teacher, had a sterling reputation. Her name was Danielle Kaminsky. She was at a school called Origins in Brooklyn. She was experiencing awful anti-Semitism, students that were harassing her, people writing and scratching swastikas on her classroom, putting anti-Semitic notes. And what we learned through our investigation was not just that the school knew about it, but that the school was essentially promoting those who were sympathizing with Hamas, a terrorist organization, as we all know. And literally when a school safety officer, an administrator tried to protect the teacher, he was also retaliated against. So we sued to stop that from happening and to protect the two of them. That's one of the largest cases that we filed.
And certainly anti-Semitism is a big factor here in New York City. So I know that you also came out with a position paper regarding fighting anti-Semitism.
I did. It was actually one of the first things that I did in November. I was fighting anti-Semitism, and including on college campuses even before President Trump. And my plan has the kinds of things that Eric Adams, if he really cared about the Jewish community, should be doing. I mean, we should be adopting the IHRA definition of anti-Semitism in our local and our state laws. We should be taking aggressive actions on college campuses, including giving NYPD new rights to be physically on outdoor spaces in college campuses at times where there are violent protests. We should not be allowing people to demonstrate with face masks on. We should be doing a much better job in vetting the organizers of these protests to make sure that they are not terrorist sympathizers. And during the protests, we have to protect Jewish students. I mean, what was going on in some of these college campuses was horrific.
Brooklyn College, Columbia University, they had these massive demonstrations, people wearing masks, violent, not even students, a lot of them too.
Well, you're 100% right, Zev. But what was also happening is there were rings of protesters that were surrounding Jewish students and literally saying to them, "We're not touching you, we're not touching you," but had basically fenced them in so that their back was literally up against the wall. That kind of action is horrific. And, the administration should have come down on it right away. I mean, as we all know, hate crimes against Jews have skyrocketed. They were at 54% as of the last set of data that came out. That is enormous when you consider the fact that Jewish people only make up about 12% of New York's population. So it's one thing for these career politicians to be flapping their gums and talking tough and calling themselves the Shabbos Goy and running for the anti-Semitism policy. It's another thing to take bold, decisive action. For example, when people are charged with hate crimes against Jews, we should be setting an example. We should be fighting to keep them in jail. The young idiot that was trying to attack synagogues, ultimately he was released on bail because of Andrew Cuomo's bail laws. And ultimately he got sentenced to 2.5 years for a conspiracy to shoot Jews in New York City synagogues. I mean, that is just insane.
Well, the whole bail situation is insane too. I'm going to try to squeeze in one phone call before I let you go. I think we have Rabbi Leiter from Rockland County. Do you have a question for our guest? Go ahead, Rabbi Leiter.
Yes, thank you so much for taking the call. What would you do, may I ask, if, God forbid, the Senate would vote this week to pass S-1 38, which would be legalize assisted suicide and invariably assisted homicide. What would you do and what could you do as New York City mayor to stand up against the implementation of that in New York City hospitals and healthcare facilities and by doctors as well?
So, Rabbi, thank you so much. And I'm not familiar with the specifics of that law, but what I can tell you is that all too often New York has had its own self-determination robbed by either Albany or by Washington. And so I've announced that we need a task force of lawyers that report to the mayor that are responsible for going into court and getting injunctions against laws that conflict with our values. This certainly sounds like one that I would take a very close look at, but I'm tired of mayors rolling over every time Albany passes a law that hurts us, bail reform being one of them. There are certainly some good aspects of bail reform, but overall it has been a disaster for New York and Washington as well. I'm not trying to be anti-Governor Hochul or anti-President Trump. I'm trying to be pro-New York. And we have a lot of lawyers on staff at Corporation Counsel who are responsible for defending New York against slip and falls. We've got none in Corp Counsel that are responsible exclusively for defending New York against overreach from either Albany or Washington. And when I'm mayor, that stops.
I know we're getting phone calls, even though we didn't solicit any, but we'll take one more. Stan from Forest Hills, your question for our guest. Go ahead, Stan.
What have you you're a lawyer. You do cases. That's all you've done. Have you run a city?
Stan, calm down a little bit. Stan, calm down a little bit. Stan, calm down. You can answer it.
Every lawyer in town wants to run. What have you? Did you run a borough? You haven't run anything other than do legal cases. That's fine. We need lawyers, but we need someone to run a city. Have you ever run anything? A community? What?
Okay, let Jim respond.
Sure, go ahead.
So, Stan, thanks for the questions. I don't mind tough questions at all. And I'll say two things. First of all, 10 years ago, I built a law firm myself. It rose from a 6-person law firm to a law firm that's got now about 80 people. We have become one of the elite litigation boutiques. I've run that law firm for 9 of the 10 years. And let me tell you something. Eric Adams was the borough president, and before that, he was a cop. Bill de Blasio didn't do anything. Mayor Bloomberg was let me finish, please.
Hold on.
Let me finish, Stan. Mayor Bloomberg was a successful businessman with a huge staff where he supervised people. I can run the city. I understand exactly what needs to be done. I am more capable than any of the other candidates. It is true that Governor Cuomo was governor for 10 years, and talk about a guy that never learned on the job. Even as of his last year, he was dropping balls left, right, and center. He alienated the Senate so much they were ready to impeach him, and that's the real reason he resigned.
We don't know you, sir. You don't. Other than being a lawyer, what do you stand for? You're just telling. I done blood.
He just told you what he stands for. He told you what he stands for.
He said minimal. That's not
I welcome the question, Stan. I welcome the scrutiny. So I'll tell you what I stand for. As a former federal prosecutor, I'm the only person in the race that has actual law enforcement experience. So I can talk to you about the ways in which I'm going to keep the city safe. We haven't been safe for 12 years. There have been times when the crime statistics have been better than others, but right now we're in a period of free fall. I can get the job done. I can get corruption out of City Hall. How do I know that? There's only one candidate in this race that put together a specific plan to create a new agency in city government that will be independent of the mayor and have the ability and the resources and the tools to actually prosecute corrupt people that right now are still sitting in City Hall. So with schools, I'm the candidate that came out with the notion of shrinking school sizes for disadvantaged schools K through 3 to make sure to put additional supports for struggling kids to try to get proficiency rates from 50% to 85% during my first term. So I stand for a lot. If you have a specific question about something that's important.
We lost Stan, but I'm going to squeeze in. We have literally overtime, but let's go to Judy in Brooklyn. You have a quick question and comment for our guest. Go ahead, Judy in Brooklyn.
Well, first of all, I want to apologize on behalf of Stan. He's such a nut job.
Hey, let's not call him names. Come on, Judy. You know better than that. Come on. Well, your question or comment? Yeah.
Well, Zev, let him be civil and let him talk like a mensch, okay? This is disgusting. And by the way, I want to tell you something. I appreciate everything you're saying. And let me just say, to answer Stan, for all the Cuomo's experience, okay, look at how he destroyed this New York and New York City. And as far as Eric Adams goes, he's the one that's welcoming all of these illegals in, buses or whatever, to the tune of $6 billion. The whole thing. He flips and flops, and all that stuff. He's got his own record. I'm just shocked at Stan, talking like this and being so disrespectful. And quite frankly, I've heard you interviewed a few times, and now tonight, and you sound terrific. I have to say, you're highly intelligent, and you're very, very competent. And sometimes you've got to. Let me tell you, President Trump, when he was president the first time around, he had no experience in office. Meanwhile, he was terrific as a president when he was in office first time around without experience. Okay, and what happened was China brought in COVID, and then it ruined everything. So now in his second term, he has more experience. And sometimes someone with no experience can come in, and if he's very smart and bright like you are, he can make such a difference because the people with experience, they're the ones that have ruined everything. Okay?
Judy, I appreciate your phone call. How do you appreciate being compared to President Donald Trump?
Listen, first of all, Judy, there was a lot of love in there, and I'm really, really grateful. And I just want you to know that there was a lawyer that went to Eric Adams at the beginning of the migrant crisis with a litigation plan to stop the buses, and the Adams administration said no. That lawyer was me. So I care about this stuff. I really care about this stuff. I want to get it right. I want to do it for the right reasons. And listen, I'll be compared. I'd love to be compared to everyone in the sense that when they do good. The thing about me is I care about New Yorkers getting the services they need. And there are going to be people along the way that will help us get what we need: resilient infrastructure, safe subways, modern subways, safe streets, more cops, etc. And there'll be people that throw rocks at us sometimes. And sometimes those rocks will come from Washington, and sometimes they'll come from Albany. So my political heroes are those heroes that really stick to the goal, which is making people's lives better. And that's what I want to do.
Judy, thank you for your phone call.
Thank you, Judy.
Before I let you go, here is the toughest question of the interview. You ready, Jim?
Come on.
Okay. You're on the campaign trail. You go to a lot of different ethnic events. When you go to a Jewish event, what is your favorite Jewish food?
Matzo ball soup, to tell you the truth. I love it. I could eat that like every day. Does that count?
That counts.
All right.
Oh, it was the toughest question of the interview so far. Anyway, Jim Walden, thank you for being with us. Esquire, as you heard, a former prosecutor running as an independent for mayor. We'll have you on many times between now and election day. Thank you for being part of our show.
I'm very grateful. And Stan, thank you for the tough questions. It keeps me sharp.
Stan, keep on calling, but just let's get the edge off a little bit on your phone call. But okay, otherwise you were good. Good questions. We love good questions, even if they're tough. Jim, thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Zev.
There you have it. One of the mayoral candidates, a crowded field.